Hello friends, my name is Steve Guttenberg and I am the Audiophiliac. Today's show is it's a show report, or I guess it's more like impressions of the show. The New York audio show that was held Friday and Saturday, September 9 and 10, here in the big city at the Martinique Hotel on 32nd Street. Nice hotel. Now, the New York audio show has been, in the last bunch of years, a very small show. I mean, let's say pre-COVID shows. Really small. This was even smaller. But the vibe was fantastic. I really had a good time. I was there almost the entire 2 days, and it was from 10 to 7 each day. And first of all, it was great. Really, the best part of the show, better than the gear, was meeting you guys. Fans come up to me and want to take selfies and stuff with their wives and girlfriends and stuff. Oh, it's me. A couple of female audiophiles were there. That was a surprise. You know, my buddies, Herb Reichert and Mike Trey and Bo and the happy audiophile Mark. I mean, we had a good time just cruising the halls and chatting with people. That was the best part. Oh, and Jana was there wearing an Audiophiliac shirt. Sort of an ad for my merch. So anyway, you can get the shirt. The shirts are always available. They're underneath the video. As for the rooms, well, where to begin? You know, I started at the beginning with Audio Note, which is a UK company. Peter Quartrup runs it. He's one of those bigger than life people. He's been doing this a long time. In the UK, he has about 50 employees. He has another factory in Lithuania, and I'm big in Lithuania, with another 20 people. And he makes complete systems. He makes all the parts: turntables, CD players, DACs, amplifiers, speakers, cables. He makes the whole thing. And he has a very unique way of demonstrating audio. He has the speakers in the corners of the room. That's the ideal placement for Audio Note speakers. And you go into the room, or when I went into the room to be more specific, you really get the feeling that the speakers are playing the room. You know, and the room was almost always full, and it looked like people were having a really good time. So that was definitely a high point. So GT Audio Works had these very large planar magnetic speakers in a very large room with woofer towers. And I gotta say, that sound, talk about filling a room, that sound was closer to life-size real musicians and real singers right there in the room playing music. So, you know, it's funny that since this is a New York show, I get to go home, right? And I come home on Friday night, and after a day of being in a show, listening to systems and talking to people, I played my system, which is right now the main speakers are Magnepan LRS with all-pass electronics driving them. And this is so funny because when I come home and listen to my stuff, I say, yeah, this is good. What I have is really good. In many ways, better than anything I heard at the show. But that's because I made it sound this way, right? It's like a suit. This system fits me. And that's what each of us does. I think this is true for a lot of people who go to shows. They hear things, hey, we're good. But when I came home, my system sounded better. That's a common reaction to audiophiles going to shows. And it certainly felt that way for me with the LRS Plus. You know, one of the things that's cool about a show is you walk around and people are talking about the show and what they just heard. And the big buzz at the show was, I think, a new company, or new to me, called Treehouse Audio. They make open baffle speakers, rather large ones, very woody looking open baffle speakers. And I went to that room a bunch of times, and when they make the entire system, the electronics, everything is done by Treehouse Audio. And first time I went there, I felt like the speakers are too big for this room. It wasn't a very big room, and it's a pretty big system. And I thought, you know, this speaker needs a bigger room to really come together. I went back again on Saturday, and it was definitely better. And it has, again, you know, it's big because it's open baffle. It's a boxless sound, a very open sounding speaker. And really, again, it plays the room really, really well. I'm sure in a much larger room, it would be considerably better sounding. So I got a taste, and I really liked what I was hearing. So then I went to Pure Audio Project. Now they're another company based in Israel. It's a long story. They're based in Israel, and they make open baffle speakers. Now I reviewed a pair a few years ago and fell absolutely in love with them. And this time they had a much smaller speaker, an open baffle speaker with a 15-inch woofer and a voxative full-range driver. And it was very sweet sounding, very rich and full. Because sometimes open baffle speakers can sound kind of anemic. But this one was detailed and fast, really fast bass, but really very sweet. Anyway, the really good news, and it was being driven by Past Electronics, I had a VPI turntable. The really good news is I'm getting these speakers here, those Pure Audio Project speakers. So I will be doing a review shortly. And then there was another open baffle speaker room, and that was the LTA Linear Tube Audio. The electronics company was partnering with Spatial Audio Lab. And again, this open baffle sound is, if you've never heard a really great open baffle speaker, you're missing out. Because again, it has this boxless sound, very dynamic and really fast, especially in the bottom end. There's something about having a large driver just free. So you hear the front of the driver, the front part of the cone, and then the rear part of the cone is bouncing off the wall behind the speaker. And it just creates this generous, let's call it generous sound quality. Anyway, I'm not going to review the speaker that was there at the show, but I think I'm going to be getting another Spatial Audio Lab speaker very, very soon. Well, in the next couple of months, I think. Oh, and also, I almost forgot, the LTA has a new, bigger, more powerful integrated amplifier designed by David Burning, and I will be doing something with them shortly, within the coming months. So the room that I spent the most time in, actually sitting and listening and not talking, was the Volte Audio Triode Audio Labs. That's a cable company, and Border Patrol. They were sharing a room together. Now, I had reviewed the Border Patrol DAC a few years ago, and I love that DAC. That DAC, all of their stuff has a great sound. It's a different kind of tube sound, put it that way. Anyway, so they had the new Volte speakers, which are called Razzle, and it's a small-ish tower horn speaker with a horn mid-range and horn tweeter. And there was something about the sound, and I love horn speakers, obviously, but there was something really special going on about the sound of vocals, male and female vocals. And I just kept, I wanted to get up and go. That's normally my mindset. I got to get to the next thing. I got to get to the next thing. I'm just sitting there listening, and they're playing all this music I never heard before, which is nice, and I liked it. That's good. And I'm just constantly, what is that? What is that? What is that? I'm just going on my phone. Oh yeah, that's really good stuff. Anyway, so that is definitely noteworthy, and I had a great time in that room. So here's the thing, sometimes you're at a show and you hear sound coming out of a room, you hear music coming out of a room that sounds like real music, like real human beings playing music in a room. And that happens sometimes at shows, but not usually. But anyway, I'm walking into the room and it turns out to be Gershwin Acoustics. And they have this new speaker. I think it's new. It's certainly new to me. Really beautiful, but not very big. In a relatively large room, for a hotel thing. And they're playing the room. They sound big, and the music was for solo cello. That's what I heard from down the hall. And it was that thing. So harmonically correct, just filling the room, beautiful, colorful, soulful body to this sound. And of course, then they played other things. And it was all really, really nice. But it was just that first encounter with the speaker, this new Gershwin speaker, that really caught my attention. So those are I don't want to call it a report. Those are my impressions of the show. And, like I say, it was a people show for me, just meeting people, meeting you guys, seeing people in the industry that I haven't seen in years. The vibe was great. I don't know. I had a really good time. I'm looking forward to next year's show. And for future shows, I might go to Capitol Audio Fest in Washington, D.C. later this year in November. I'm thinking about it. I don't really get out of New York that much, but I think that might be the one, because that's a much bigger show. And everybody who's gone to that show, Capitol Audio Fest, absolutely loves it. I've heard nothing but raves about that show. So this could be the year for my first time. I think this is it. We have done it. My name is Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Show, and I am the Audiophiliac. And if you like what I'm doing, please consider joining my Patreon. And Patreon now accepts payment in dollars, pounds, and euros. And we have options here. You can just subscribe to the channel. That's free. And if you do subscribe, hit the notification bell. And one of the other things my asks for you guys, is to hit the like button when you like an episode. That is very helpful. And what else? I think that's it. I think that's all we got. So anyway, hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.